Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the Rock and Rising channel. Obviously, right now you're not seeing Rock, you're just seeing Rising right now, and with that being said, my name is Justin Rising, and I want to get into something a little bit different for you guys, just in an attempt to bring you some more content. Normally on this channel, we stay on top of, like, really the positive things. We want to bring you some positive vibes, way that you look at your life, or look at the world around you, and that's kind of what we normally get into. In this kind of segment, or this piece that I want to talk about, though, is not really that. And I'm going to talk about some like kind of news things that I've seen over the past couple of weeks, things that I found either interesting or I don't really know what the negative side of interesting is, but I don't necessarily want to like kind of punch a hole in the whole brand, but at the same time, I do want to talk about these things because it's difficult to live in the world we live in today without actually bringing something like this up, bringing it to the forefront, and really having a conversation about it. So with all that being said, I do appreciate some comments down below, and with that, I'm just going to jump right into it. And what I really want to talk about is the Black Lives Matter movement and kind of what's surrounding that. Not even just like Black Lives Matter, because obviously that is a response. Like, I want to talk about the actual actions that are kind of leading to that. The biggest thing is kind of the idea of violence and like the police response to crime. With that, I did some digging, getting into some research, trying to figure out where all of this kind of like upsurgence in kind of excessive force from the side of police is coming from. And like my initial response, my initial thought was, is it warranted? Is it something that's like, okay, there's been an upsurgence in violent crimes, so therefore there's going to be a larger police presence, or a kind of more of a brutal police output, basically, if that makes any sense. So I did some research, and turns out no, there's not. There's no real reason why the police response should be as brutal as it is. So if you do any research on your own as well, there's a website, it's a government website called pjs.gov, where it's giving out violent crime statistics and gun-related crime statistics, and actually the number of people killed by handguns, guns, things of that nature. And in the last basically 20 years, gun-related crime has decreased, and it's been decreasing year over year for the last 20 years. You look at 1995, and specifically things happening around the African-American community. You had a lot of gang violence, and you also had the Rodney King kind of incidents, and a lot of riots and things like that, things of that nature back in 1995. And that was a large spike in gun-related crime, crimes revolving around the African-American community, things of that nature. And since then, it's been declining. So why are we seeing a large increase in the number of African-American deaths involving the police? And another point could be that, you know, maybe we're just seeing it more often because you have a lot of media coverage. The answer to that would be yes and no, actually. So, I mean, with that being said, you could have more media coverage. You're definitely seeing it more often, I will say that, but there is actually an uptick in police-related deaths. Police are using more lethal force in apprehending people than since 1995, and there was a decline since 1995, and then an increase from 2000 all the way up to 2015, and we're in 2016, obviously, and it looks like we're about to meet or even surpass the number of police-related killings in, 2015. There is absolutely a weird skewing to one side of this spectrum here, and that skewing is that African Americans account for 13 to 16% of our population, but they account for about 30% of the deaths involving police. And you have your white community that is accounting for, I think, 67% of the total population in the U.S., but we're only accounting for 50% of the gun-related deaths involving police, or like deaths involving police. There's an issue there, absolutely an issue there. That basically is saying more criminals obtained by the police who are white do not die while in custody or in the apprehension of said suspect. And on the other side, you have a statistic there that's saying that out of the 13% African American community, more of them are being apprehended and more of them are being killed by the police while in custody or while apprehending said suspect. There's an idea that, like, oh, this person's a criminal, therefore, you know, if they weren't doing anything wrong, then they wouldn't have been murdered by the police. That in itself is, you're building up this argument where people, it kind of sounds true. But once again, you have to look at it and what was that person's crime? We have laws for a reason. There is no vigilante justice that isn't like, oh, that person stole a stick of bubblegum, let's shoot him in the face. That's not how the justice system works. We have one for a reason. If you're running from the police, that looks suspect. Does that mean that you deserve to be tackled to the pavement and shot? No. That person could be running because they had a petty warrant. They don't want to go back to jail. Let's say they stole something, or maybe they're, you know, selling drugs. I don't necessarily agree with the sale of drugs, but at the same time, that doesn't mean that that person is deserving of being shot, killed, whatever it may be, during the apprehension of that suspect. If they have a weapon and they're pointing it at the police, now yes, there's no reason. If you have a weapon, you shouldn't point it at the police because you will probably die. It's a bad idea. But if, like, multiple cases in the last couple of, weeks, even in the past year, we've seen people who were either unarmed or really not even doing anything specific to be arrested, and for some reason they were arrested and either murdered or something along those lines while in police custody, or just blatantly right in the middle of the apprehension. And now what I don't want to do is paint this out to be a problem of just race, and I do want to make it known that it is my opinion that this isn't a race problem. This is absolutely a problem with the police, and I don't want to say that all police are bad, because there are people out there who are doing great things. There are positive people out there, people who are actually doing their job, people who still believe that the role of the police department is to protect and serve, and then you do have a lot of media coverage on the negative side because, you know, bad news spreads faster than good news, and the highlight is there to really take part and look at what your local government is doing. And there are elections for a reason, and we should absolutely be taking part in local elections, making sure that the people that we want to see, the people that we see doing well, the people whose background that we identify with in our communities are the people that we're putting forward as are the best of our best. You do see a lot of things on media, and then you have other things on social media where people are trying to skew these statistics and kind of push them in favor of, you know, making the problem out not to be as bad as it seems. And I have said it before, I do agree that all lives matter, but once again, you're faced with the issue that you're downplaying the actual problem. If, you know, if my house is on fire and I say, oh, like my house shouldn't be on fire, and then my neighbor goes, hey, nobody's house should be on fire, that doesn't mean that my house isn't still on fire, all right? I still need help. Someone needs to, you know, put out the fire in my house. You're talking about the abuse of a certain group of people, more so than any other group of people, and the idea that, you know, that person doesn't actually really need help because everybody needs help. No, that person actually needs help. There is an issue here that we're not really addressing, and we're downplaying it and making it seem not to be as bad as it actually is. All right, so I do believe that all lives matter, but at this exact moment in time, there is a specific area where more people need help. With all that being said, if you do like this, the idea of kind of like bringing some real-world news in there, and I do see a lot of it, but this is once again my opinion, and that's kind of the reason why I want to call this show That's Just My Opinion. And that is my opinion on the Black Lives Matter and the idea of increased police violence. And I will drop some statistics, some knowledge down in the description down below, that way you guys can check it out. And once again, I've gone through, and you can kind of fact check some of these websites. I don't see the reason why a government website would actually put unfavorable information on its website about police. It's basically the government saying that the government's doing something wrong, which is a little strange, but that's basically what this government website's saying. On top of that, you have other ones like the Huffington Post, PolitiFact, stuff like that, which more people in the past have said that they skew to one side of the spectrum to the other. So you can read some reviews on that and decide whether or not you think that, you know, that news outlet or that statistic outlet is actually worthy of you taking a look at. So with all that being said, once again, my name is Justin Rising. You've been watching the Rockin' Rising channel, and this is just my opinion. Please like and subscribe if you liked the video, if you want to see more content, and if you want to go ahead and keep the conversation going, comment down below, like the video. That is all I have for you guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.